What's up, guys? D22 So Wayne Chiang with the Live Like Poker Stream. This is my VIP guest, Roger Veer, a cryptocurrency. What's the term now? What are you in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I don't know. Cryptocurrency aficionado, I guess. I don't know. I've been a fan for a long time.
Yeah, I knew and heard about that. So, Roger and I go way back to like our late teens, mid late teens. We first met at Superstars in Cupertino, which is now Channel Fireball. Shout out to John Sasso, the CEO. And
we love you, John. We miss you.
we love you, John.
I haven't seen you for a while.
I'm talking to him on Twitter. I'm giving him shout outs. But yeah, so then we got introduced in the gaming world through Magic the Gathering, and then you go on to qualify for Pro Tour LA and have a pretty big run there. We'll talk about that in a bit. So yeah, I mean, I basically always knew you as a super nice guy, never mean any harm. And it's crazy that, you know, when we get older, I see this like toxic narrative about you. I'm like, this is not the Roger Veer that I know. I don't know what these guys are talking about. I've also known you as like a nice guy and entrepreneur, and I mentioned that in the Brian Mycon podcast. I'm just like, you're just like, you know, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents.
And trying to make the world a better place all at the same time. Those two things go hand in hand. So anytime anybody's trading anything with anybody else, both people are better off after the trade takes place.
So let's get with your view from like the late 1990s.
Yeah, so I think I was probably 17 when I met you for the first time, I would guess. So through Magic the Gathering, and thanks to good Magic players like yourself and you know, Jeff Simino and Brian Weissman, and of course the tutelage from good old John Sasso and these people, I was, you know, fortunate enough to be hanging around with good Magic players that helped me, you know, increase my level pretty quickly. And you guys helped me, you know, showed me the rules of the game, and hanging out with you guys, lo and behold, I'd only been playing Magic probably less than a year, and I qualified for. I remember I qualified for both the adult pro tour and the junior or kids pro
Super
tour.
Series,
and I tried to play in both. Yeah, the junior pro tour and the world like adult pro tour. And part of my strategy, and I'm probably a nicer guy now than I was then, because part of my Magic strategy though was to just tell the craziest stories I could come up with to distract my opponents. I don't know if you remember this, but I was playing the mono red decks, and the other people, you know, have to focus so hard on their, you know, blue white stasis decks and this and that, and I would just, you know, talk their ear off with the craziest stuff I could think of that would, you know, tilt them from being able to focus on the game. And it worked pretty well. But I remember the thing that probably got my opponent the most upset wasn't even a crazy story. I just told him, I said, I'm actually not very good at Magic. I'm really new, and I'm just luckier than I am good. I told him I'd only been playing Magic less than a year, and it was true.
It was true.
And this was in the Pro Tour, and we were both like, you know, 9-0 in the Pro Tour or something at that point. And he basically, you know, had a rage. He said that, you know, he said that there's no way anybody makes it this far. He's only been playing Magic less than a year, and he thought that I was lying to him about that. But that part was 100% true.
Was not lying. But, you know, to be fair, as an explanation, you did have good influences, you know, like you said, you know, Brian Weissman.
I had great influences. So,
Brian Weissman, John Sasso to this day are still in the mix. Jeff Simino, a very good player, you know. Yeah, there's a lot of good influences. So it's not like you just went from 0 to 100 real quick. You had a little help, but, you know, you made it there yourself. So credits to you. You're the, like, when you're the one playing the deck, we can't play for you. So all you there.
Yeah, well, thank you. And those were wonderful, wonderful, fun times. I really missed my time playing Magic the Gathering. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience, and met lots of people. You know, I haven't talked to you for, you know, close to 20 years probably at this point, but really glad to reconnect. And there were lots of wonderful people that I met through Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I heard about you through the grapevine, through like Yubin Tao, and I guess he heard from like Chris Pantages, and, you know, of course, see you in the news. And like basically I was at UC San Diego, and I hear that you went to jail for something ridiculous like selling firecrackers, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And like, at least from my point of view, I'm like, okay, maybe you did something really wrong in the process. And then the more that I hear about it, I'm like, you didn't do anything like wrong. And then, you know, I hear your point of view through like your YouTube channel, I'm like, this sounds pretty ridiculous. So
Yeah, so I like most young men, I liked firecrackers as a young man. Heck, I'm in my 40s now. I still like firecrackers, right? Um, but in the late 1990s, there I found there's a company, Cabela's Sporting Goods Catalog, is where I first heard about them. The #1 sporting goods catalog in America. We're selling this product called a Pest Control Report 2000. It was basically a firecracker you could use for farmers to scare birds out of their cornfield or whatever, and you could buy those. And then I bought some for myself. I thought, oh, these are great. And then I noticed you could sell them for more money on eBay. So I started buying them from one website and then reselling them on eBay, and was accepting, credit cards and PayPal eventually, and wasn't trying to hide what I was doing whatsoever. Didn't think that I needed any sort of license to be selling them. If I knew I needed a license, I would have either gotten the license or stopped selling them. But then, I've been as I've gotten older, I've become, more and more libertarian. But even at that point, I was pretty ardent, libertarian. In fact, John's dad used to call me Roger the Libertarian when I would go into Superstars there.
shout
So,
out to Gary Sasso. Shout out to Gary Sasso.
yeah, we love you too, Gary. Yeah, another wonderful, wonderful man.
Very.
But yeah, wound up being basically, for the things that I espouse politically, I wound up being the only person in the entire country to be prosecuted for selling those without a license. And then there's, unfortunately, in the cryptocurrency sphere, there's some politics as well as to what Bitcoin is supposed to be, or what it was meant to be, or what cryptocurrencies are supposed to be for. So now a number of people have tried to politicize my selling firecrackers on the internet more than 2 decades ago into some way to twist around my view on what Bitcoin is supposed to be, which just is a total non sequitur as far as I'm concerned.
So at least like, okay, so I was introduced to cryptocurrency slash Bitcoin through, I don't want to necessarily name their names, but like, some very whatever established people in Silicon Valley. And then we got wind of it was going to be a thing. And this was like early 2010 stuff, or mid 2010. But then we also heard that bad things might happen, which basically happened to Silk Road and Brian Micon with Seals with Clubs. And because of my experience with online poker, and then just like Black Friday or NetTeller getting shut down, I wanted to keep it like low key, and found that there was a certain amount of risk, which did happen with the founder of Silk Road and Brian Micon. So there came to a
and plenty of others too. People running ATM networks and people trading on local Bitcoins. There's been all sorts of people that have been sent to jail for absolutely nothing. They ran an ATM and didn't have the right license to run a Bitcoin ATM. It's just ridiculous that America wants to put entrepreneurial people like that in jail for making the world a better place.
Right. So there is always a risk, at least back then. I don't know what's going on now, but at least we got wind of there was a risk of, if you get entangled with this stuff, this might happen. And it did. And it was clearly, at least I don't see anything wrong with it, but you have a very strong opinion on whether what's right and wrong, as you said, with the entrepreneurial side of.
Yeah, I think people should be allowed to do anything that's peaceful. And as every gambler knows, though, there's risks in life, and gamblers are good at evaluating those risks and deciding out what risks are worth taking and which ones aren't.
So yeah, basically, after the firecracker thing, then I guess I'm not entirely sure, but I know you're an early Bitcoin and cryptocurrency adopter, and then that's where we had heard you were giving talks and stuff, and then this was even before that big run up, the big
yeah, there have been a few run-ups over the years, but I got, actually, one of the things also that really made me realize, oh, this is going to be amazing, was the Poker Black Friday, when they shut down all the poker websites and the payment methods and everything. It's like, oh, people want to play poker on the internet, they need a way to get the money in and out. Bitcoin's perfect for that. So it's just one more additional use case where I knew Bitcoin was going to wind up being popular for payments on the internet. So.
Which Brian Micon adopted with Seals of Clubs, and I was on there briefly. But again, that was a juncture where it's like, something wrong may happen. And literally months after we got wind something wrong might happen, Brian Micon had his place like broke, like the feds broken into.
They kicked down his door at like 4 a.m, right? Like, because he ran a website that allowed people to play poker on the internet. Like, what kind of crazy world thinks it's okay to kick down people's doors over running websites that allow people to play poker? It's a crazy world to me, but what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, and it was traumatized. Obviously, I'm of the opinion that's just like way overblown, where it's like it's insane, like that he got treated like that, and of course he had to settle for a plea deal, I think for $25,000, and he's happier now. He's okay with his run on life, but just like the fact that that even happened when he's just trying to like explore a new frontier in this world and like literally doing nothing wrong. It's just like poker and like cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and America is definitely like the land where there's lots of entrepreneurs, but it's also one of the places that's the most dangerous for entrepreneurs. I mean, you just look at Brian, right? He set up a website that allowed people to play poker, and got his door kicked down for it at 4 in the morning. It's just a scary, scary place. Whereas in other countries, they're not going to kick your door down, but there's not necessarily as many opportunities. So it's a balancing act there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna speak so far as other countries because it could always be much, much worse. Obviously, but yeah, it could also be a better place and also be cleaner. So I don't know what the rationale is for whatever their ulterior motives or whatnot, but at least for your firecracker incident and Brian Mycon seals of clubs, there's clearly like no monkey business. Past that, I don't really I can't speak as far, or I would have to look into it. And again, like I told Brian Mycon, like everybody know, like I've known you since you were a kid, and just like by nature, you have like literally no malice. You're just literally like trying to do like an entrepreneurship grind and just trying to do what you can. And like, I hear a lot of these opinions. I'm just like, I don't know, man. So then what kind of caused you to, after the firecracker incident, to take the position that you're at right now?
Yeah, well, I definitely got traumatized by that whole experience too. I wound up, I did 10 months in federal prison when I was just a 22-year-old kid when I went in, got out at 23. Uh, that's a traumatizing experience. So like I have a couple of other videos where I've told some, prison stories. Maybe I'll make some more in the future.
I watched that one. That was really hard for me to watch because I know you personally. So like when you say what happens to you, like how you being treated with like, the guys in there, I'm just like it hits me on a personal level. So
Yeah, it's always more real when you know the person, and that's why I've done lots of different podcast interviews, but I'm extra happy to be talking with you because you're someone that I know personally on a personal level.
yeah.
Even though we haven't talked for a long time, I still remember our joking around and having wonderful times at various Magic tournaments there. And if you talk to Euban again, please tell him, hey, how you been for me? Like I'm sure you'll remember that joke from
How you
decades
been?
past.
Talked to him
Yeah.
yesterday. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So it traumatized me. So the day I was allowed to leave the United States, actually, I left the United States and spent a lot of time living in Japan. After that, I speak fluent Japanese now and fit in pretty well there. Although at the moment I'm hanging out in the Caribbean. The whole world is kind of crazy with this coronavirus stuff. So I don't know when or where people will be allowed to travel to, or where to next. But so I'm just kind of on pause, working on my laptop on the computer out of various hotel rooms and whatnot at the moment. So yeah, what's next in the world? I don't know. But what's next for me? I think I'm going to continue trying to build these tools that will enable people to send or receive any amount of money with anyone, anywhere in the world instantly, basically for free, and not need permission from any politician or bureaucrat or police officer that wants to kick down someone's door at 5 in the morning for running a poker website. Like I want to build the tools to allow people to bypass centralized control mechanisms that are used against peaceful people. And I can't think of anything that's more exciting for me than that. And I was fortunate enough to be able to make a lot of money along the way doing that. So it's been a win-win situation there. It's just been a fantastic journey. It's hard to believe that I've been in the cryptocurrency space, almost 10 years now. The time really, really goes quickly.
So one of and like I am completely detached from the cryptocurrency world, but your spin on Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin Core, I believe, is that the transfer fee for Bitcoin Cash is lower, but Bitcoin Cash is a fork off of Bitcoin Core.
Yeah, significantly lower. So right now, as of it's morning time. So as of yesterday, I didn't check this morning, but the average fee on Bitcoin to make a Bitcoin transaction is $5. So that means anytime you would want to deposit at any sort of poker website with your Bitcoin, it'll cost you $5, and it'll cost another $5 to take the money back out. And not only does it cost $5, but it's delayed, right? So like that's the $5 fees because the blocks are full. I'm sorry if I'm getting too technical for people, but the payments are able to be reversed on Bitcoin. The payments are not reversible on Bitcoin Cash. The payments on Bitcoin Cash are a 20th of a penny. The payments on Bitcoin are $5 each. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out which one of those is going to be more useful for people who want to play poker on the internet or make any sort of other payment on the internet. And the frustrating part is that Bitcoin has the name recognition and brand awareness and support from people around the world, but it doesn't have the fundamental characteristics that made Bitcoin popular to begin with. Bitcoin Cash has those characteristics, but when the split between the one single version of Bitcoin and into Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash happened, Bitcoin got all the name recognition and infrastructure and worldwide awareness. Bitcoin Cash didn't get any of that, and the fact that Bitcoin Cash has only been building for a little over 2 years now and has more than 100,000 websites that accept today. There's more physical shops that accept Bitcoin Cash than accept Bitcoin today. That's a really, really impressive thing. And I think we're going to see at some point, I think that it's more likely than not, Bitcoin Cash will surpass Bitcoin in terms of market cap and usage around the world, because one works fantastic as money and potentially a store of value. Bitcoin only has the store of value narrative going for it. But from my point of view, the only reason you would want to store your value in something is if you're able to spend it later. And if you damage the spendability of Bitcoin, you're kind of missing the whole point. Or if you're pushing people into these centralized custodians for your Bitcoin where someone else is holding it for you, well, why not just use PayPal or Bank of America or all the stuff you were using before? Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, you can send or receive any amount of money right here from your cell phone. In fact, what we'll do, you'll have to edit this video before you put it online, but I'll put on screen a sheet with a $25 little gift codes for Bitcoin Cash. And the first people that scan each of those gift codes right through this video will receive $5 in Bitcoin Cash. It's impossible to do that on top of Bitcoin, because to receive the $5, you'd have to spend $5 in fees. So maybe you'd get a penny left, and then to spend the penny, you'd need another $5. So it's not even possible on Bitcoin anymore. But on Bitcoin Cash, we'll put this right up on the screen right now while I'm explaining this. Sorry to you or whoever's going to edit this for you. But
I'll edit that part. But like, yeah, so that's something like the second you talk to me, you send me this thing and you hook me up with $100, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And then you go to bitcoin.com and then scan it, and then boom, it's like it's done deal.
Yeah, and if we had done that on Bitcoin, it would have cost us, $10 to do that. $5 for me to create the little thing that I sent you, and then another $5 for you to claim it, and an additional $5 when you go to spend it, and then it just on and on and on. And so I don't see that as a sustainable long-term path to drive a worldwide adoption of cryptocurrencies. People want lower fees, not higher fees.
Right. So how many people are going to be getting this? Because at some point you're not going to be sending, or it's not going to work. So
yeah, we'll do it.
Because I don't want to be a disclaimer, because when the X person down the line says, "Oh, this thing didn't work," we want to make sure that it actually did work.
I'll send you 20 for $5 each, so that's $100. So the first, and we ask each person as they scan them, just scan one code per person. The first person to scan each code gets the money, and then the money is moved off that code onto their device. And they can do it with a Bitcoin.com wallet or any other wallet that's able to sweep private key in cryptocurrency. So it's really in fact, you know what? I'll let you talk for a minute, and I'll even get one on my phone right here so people can see just how easy it is to do.
So yeah, basically I did the process that Roger was talking about, and I clicked in and I'm like, okay. And the thing is, like I said, I always knew you had an entrepreneur mind when you were younger with the Firecrackers. Plus, what was your tech company? It was Memory Deals.
Yeah, Memory Dealers. We sold the computer parts, exactly.
So
in fact, the lucky person here, I'm going to send them $100 via my phone right here. So it only works for the very first person that scans this, but the very first person that scans the code that I'll have up. And so here's what I'm doing. Actually, I'm sending $100 from my phone.
So the first person to scan this is going to get a hundo.
Is going to get it. Yep.
So guys, if you see this, if you are the first viewer and you get to this first,
yep. So I sent it from my phone. Now here it is. So the very first person that scans this QR code receives $100. I just made that, and only the first person. Once it's been scanned, the money will be gone from this address, but there's $100 of Bitcoin Cash on there. And if Bitcoin Cash actually becomes really popular, that $100 that I just sent right now could become worth as much as $100,000 someday. So it's a really big deal, and we'll do 20 more additional $5 codes that you'll edit into the video there.
I'll edit in the video after. So then,
in fact, maybe we'll put them at random times in the video, and so you'll have to watch and be ready with your phone as you watch the rest of the video.
That is very Roger Ver of you. That's all I'm going to say about that. So yeah, Memory Deals. Basically, what happened was the .com crash around 2000. People were selling hardware for pennies on the dollar, and then you with the the grinding mine you have, just like bottom up and then resell them. And I heard about an incident with this too that was unfair to you. Was that true?
And there's been a lot of unfairish incidents in my life, but all in all, my life turned out pretty good, so I can't complain too terribly much. Which incident in particular were you talking to with the memory dealer stuff? Or?
I had heard that like some of your stuff got seized, like unfairly.
Oh yeah. So, and there definitely was a problem with like, there's been a problem for decades with like counterfeit goods from China flooding the world's markets, right? And so we were importing a lot of not counterfeit goods from China. Um, but so actually, I don't know if you knew a guy named Andy Fassler. He embezzled a bunch of money from me, and then when I caught him, rather than saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that," he went to the police and lied and claimed that like we were selling a bunch of I think he even said we were manufacturing counterfeit goods. So then the police start looking into me and my business, and they were intercepting all of both our incoming packages and then our outgoing shipments to customers. And these customers are paying for like overnight shipment. If the parts don't get there overnight, they're going to be furious. And so the government for months were like seizing all of our packages that were coming into the company and holding them for weeks. And I literally had to have a guy, his entire full-time job was just to call the customs office over and over and over all day, saying, "Did you release our package yet? Can you release our package? Did you release our package yet?" And just be such a big pain in their side that eventually it was easier for them to release our packages than to hold them longer. And it caused a big giant disruption to my business with them, delaying every package into my company and every package going out of my company. It was a giant disaster. And of course, nothing ever came of that because we never ever intentionally ever sold and certainly never manufactured any sort of counterfeit goods ever. There was one time that we had a company we ordered something from, they drop shipped it directly to our customer. The goods that company drop shipped that never even came to our warehouse, we never saw it, was from a company in LA and shipped to somewhere else, turned out to be counterfeit. And so like I'm obviously the victim in that. And then some of these crazy Bitcoin maximalists try and like spin that against me, like I'm the bad guy that this guy cheated me on that. So it's a crazy,
It's
crazy
not
world on the internet where people love to spin things in the most negative light they ever possibly can. So
whatever credibility I have, that's just not your style. Like your style is like to buy low and sell high, like when it comes to
that's exactly
entrepreneurial
right.
stuff.
So
So
and
like
buy and sell lower than anybody else and sell more of it and go.
yeah,
So
that's exactly, your style. So whatever. Like I have definitely zero problem have a testimony to that. And so how do you think cryptocurrency is going to affect like the casino industry or the poker industry as a whole?
yeah, I think we're already seeing it, right? There's lots of online gaming websites that you can pay with your cryptocurrency, both in and out. A little selfish plug here. Games.bitcoin.com. You can pay, blackjack, video poker, roulette, craps, like all this stuff. Like there, you can deposit instantly with either Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or a bunch of other altcoins as well, and then you can withdraw instantly. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to give any information whatsoever. It works just like magic, right? Magic internet money. The only downside is if you use Bitcoin, it costs $5 per deposit in fees at least, and then probably about the same or more for each withdrawal. So use Bitcoin Cash if you want to save some money. So.
What about the physical world of the casinos?
Yeah, so I was talking about that. So we actually sponsored the casino chips at a big physical casino in St. Kitts at the Marriott there. And if you go in there and if you play, roulette or things like that, if you look at the chips, they'll say like, Bitcoin.com. I think they might even say Bitcoin Cash on that physical chips. But I was thinking a fun thing for people to do in a physical casino is you could just have like a TV on the wall that displays QR codes with different odds or whatever, and people right from their phones could send money to the TV screen, and then if they win the bet, the money goes right back to their phone. And you could really do that, and I think that would be fun for someone somewhere to do with a game like Satoshi Dice or sports betting or anything out there. And so if people haven't seen Satoshi Dice, it's a negative return game eventually, but like you have just under a 50-50 chance of winning double your money, for example. But you send your money from your phone, and within about 2 seconds, if you win, the money goes right back to your phone. So it's really a lot of stimulus as far as the feedback. You send the money, boom, you get the money back if you won. If you didn't win, you don't get the money back. But it's a pretty powerful demonstration of just how powerful cryptocurrency is.
So one of the things that you're definitely pushing forward is like, like you showed with the QR code stuff, is like you just click, you don't even need an account on bitcoin.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, you don't give your name, you don't give your email, you don't give your tax ID number. Nobody in the entire world, including the FBI or anybody else that might want to kick down your door at 4 a.m, is able to seize your funds. Nobody can block your payments. Nobody can control it in any way. And by the end of this year, we should have it in there. There's this cool thing called Cash Fusion, which basically makes all your Bitcoin Cash transactions super private. So like even like, the NSA trying to spy on you is going to have a really hard time figuring out, how much money you have or who you're sending it to or from or that sort of thing. So that's going to be a really powerful tool as well that I'm really excited for Bitcoin Cash. So it'll be fast, cheap, reliable, and super private payments, and works for anybody in the world without having to give any ID or any sign up process whatsoever. Like that's a pretty powerful use case in my book.
So you have any people you want to shout out, at least in this whole crypto journey? Because I only talk with Brian Micah, but your name comes up like all the time, and it's like when I hear these narratives, I'm just like, it's good and bad.
So all the
ways.
all the old people that have been around for a long time, like they say, like, yeah, thank you so much for what you've done. We really appreciate it. Because I was literally, with my funds that I earned from memory dealers, I was the first person in the world to start investing in this ecosystem and seeded basically the entire first generation of Bitcoin related businesses. So, we definitely got things moving in the early days. I put up a billboard right there on the side of Lawrence Expressway there in the heart of Silicon Valley, advertising, Bitcoin. This is back in, I think the billboard went up in May of 2011 when the price was still just a couple of bucks each, and I've been busy promoting it to the world ever since. So special shout outs though to I want to actually thank all my customers for memory dealers too, because they were the ones that, by buying the products from me, gave me the capital to have to be able to start investing in this Bitcoin space when I did. And I want to thank actually all my friends from Magic the Gathering as well, because it really taught me to be able to think outside the box. For anybody that's played Magic, you just have to look. There's 1,000 different ways to do things, and you have to think outside of the normal box and figure out the ways to do that. And thanks to you, Wayne, for showing me that there's more than one way to play StarCraft and Warcraft. You definitely upped my level of being able to play those games as well, to the point where it made it not fun for me to play with my old friends, because you made me so much better than I used to be. It was no longer competitive to play with the people that I used to play with.
Isn't that the whole point? How is that not fun?
That is the whole point, but I had to find a new group of people to play those games with, because the previous people weren't able to keep up. So, but that was, I don't know if you remember, you gave me a one-on-one tutoring session for both StarCraft and Warcraft previously.
I honestly don't remember, but like I said, I remember spending time with you, and I don't remember the exact.
Most of it was at Magic tournaments, but yeah, one day you gave me a real good tutoring session on with the orcs and the bloodlust and powering them all up, and showing me how to do. I'm sure you remember that strategy. That's how you do
it.
So.
I remember the strategy, and like a testament to me. Like I don't coach for money. Like people asked me, and I definitely did not charge you. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you definitely didn't charge me. Although 20 years later, I sent you some Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah. No, it's more just like I just don't do that. So even for poker, like when people ask me to coach, I tend to discourage people. I'm like, it's not worth your money. Like the stuff at the level they're at, you could just like search on the internet, or with a lot of credible players, and something with like Live at the Bike, the subscription's like $20 a month. It's like nothing. Or you could watch it for free on YouTube. Like that, like if you just like continuously watch that, you're gonna not spend money and just like get the same, at the juncture of their development, they're gonna get exactly what they need. So
yeah, so I'd love to hear more about your experience transitioning from Magic to poker, though, because I know a lot of the Magic people I used to know made that transition, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that if you don't mind sharing. And I apologize if you've already shared that somewhere else multiple times.
I've never really shared it in detail, but I glaze over it. So obviously, when I was in the late teenager, I was a professional gamer. Sick brag, I was #1 in the world in Command and Conquer. I hit #1 rank in Warcraft 2 and StarCraft World Champion. And Magic the Gathering, I guess, is like my 4th competitive game. And shout out to Brian Weissman, John Sasso, Jeff Semino, Hui Saint Shui, even Tao, that whole crew for like upping my game, because they were in there earlier. So I did pretty well in Magic, but it wasn't like my main focus. And then I got paid at gamers.com for pioneering esports. I was a competitor, plus I was in the forefront of reporting what was going on in esports and strategy. And then the .com crash happened. Sorry, before the .com crash happened, it came to a juncture at gamers.com whether to continue hardcore gaming, which is much more difficult to monetize, but gets the hardcore attention, just like in the crypto world. How do you convert it from hardcore into mainstream? So they had decided to make it a gaming portal in which my expertise would transfer over more towards name versus actual execution of teaching the public hardcore things. Then at that juncture, I'm like, well, I should, try to be a programmer, I guess, because that's what made Asian parents happy and seemed to be more the direction of being able to expand your career. And that didn't really work out. So .com crash happened. I worked at Alta Vista for a while, then went to college. And college, the rising prices were already getting nuts. Like, student loans do not even close to cover college prices. So poker was one of the more obvious things because in San Diego, live poker was no flop, no drop. So you could steal the blinds and not have to pay extra, and you could table change and come in behind for free. So there was a lot of like hacks of the current setup that allow like higher win rate. And online poker came out. Then the Chris Moneymaker boom happened after he won the World Series of Poker. So it was a very simple and rational transition for people who have a Magic the Gathering background, like David Williams, Efro, Casey McCarroll. That's among many, many names that transferred over. And it was like John Finkel. I remember playing with him on Party Poker. I think Brian Kibler was in the mix too. So one of the things about these Magic Gatherings, they always use their last name on the poker sites, which was probably not the wisest thing when it comes to people like me who recognize their names. Like, oh, this guy's a good player, I'm going to play him accordingly.
Yeah, like John Finkel and Casey McCarroll. I remember these names very clearly from my Magic the Gathering days. These were good Magic players, and I guess they turned into good poker players as well.
Yeah, and then, like John Finkel transfers a career once more because like poker is not even close to end all. It was just, especially in that era, it was a good decision. So yeah, I mean, like, Finkel used Finkel as his name on Party Poker, which is pretty funny. And then there were other people who did that too. But it was a very easy run up, which Brian Micon did as well. He's a obviously very smart guy, and we just used that to get like a lump dollar amount to do whatever we want. I paid for school. A lot of people dropped out. As long as you dropped out and had something else to go into, it was a very good move, which something like Brian Micon did. Other people who dropped out and just like degened their way into oblivion, that was not good. But that's life, right? They're probably happy.
Trevor Blackwell is another guy I ran into. If you remember him from the Magic days, now he's a professional poker player. So
shout to Trevor, shout to Conan.
Yeah, Conan. Sorry, if you're not in this circle, these things won't be as fun or exciting. But yeah, we should probably tell the arm wrestling story, I suppose. So,
oh my God, what happened? Who did you arm wrestle?
So Sven Gjertsen, right, the Swedish Magic player. So this is in the Pro Tour, and I don't know, like 12-0 or something. I was getting close to making like the final 8 table at the Pro Tour there, and we were in like the feature matchbox area where like the ESPN2 is videoing it and whatnot. And this guy is from Sweden, so he has a bit of an accent, right? And so like most people, I'll tell some of my Magic strategy tips here. Where most people would roll a dice to see who gets to go first. Occasionally, like actually my technique, like if you roll a dice, like that's actually kind of random. So I would always try and get people to play rock, paper, scissors with me because there's actually a lot of strategy
right,
that
is an edge,
like yeah, 7 out of 10 times people will do scissors on the first time. So if you do rock, you're going to win, right? So like it's a big advantage. And then I get to choose if I want to go first or draw first with Magic. And in my deck, I always want to go first. Right. So I would ask people to play rock, paper, scissors. And 3/4 of the time they'd agree to it. And I'd win 3/4 of the time. So it was a big advantage in Magic. The Swedish guy, who was a really good Magic player, he was refusing to play rock, paper, scissors with me. And this is in the feature area where everyone's watching. And then he said something, and like he has an accent and kind of mumbles a little bit maybe. And so like I thought this is what he genuinely said. I thought he said like, let's arm wrestle for it. And so I look at him, and he's a little bit bigger than me, but I have the masculinity thing, like all right, you challenged me to arm wrestle, like So I tell him, I said, all right, let's arm wrestle for it. And when I replied that back to him, I could tell from the look on his face that must not have been what he said, because he looked really surprised. He must have just said something else that I didn't understand. And I think the same chain of logic went through in his head. He looked at me, and he's a guy and I'm a guy, and he's like, yeah, I can take this guy. So he agreed to arm wrestle with me. And this guy was one of the top Magic players in the world at the time. So we, line up on the table and we arm wrestle. And I, wanted to win. I don't know if were you there, or you just heard about this later?
I was there. No. I was there, but I didn't remember it. But now that you mention it, because I remember the final moments, but I want you to tell the story.
Yeah. And so I'm pulling as hard as I possibly can. And usually arm wrestling matches are over in a couple of seconds. And this felt like, it was like 2 full minutes. In reality, it was maybe, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Yeah. But I'm pulling as hard as I can. And apparently my whole face turns red. I'm just like, pulling. And then slowly, maybe 30 seconds in, ever so slowly, it starts to go in my favor. And then finally, I win the arm wrestling match. And, so then, for the rest of the Pro Tour tournament, I was going around telling everybody, I beat Sven Gjertsen, who at the time was one of the top Magic players in the world. And everybody said, you beat Sven Gjertsen at Magic? I said, no, at arm wrestling. And then we went on to play our Magic games. And I don't know if that guy has X-ray vision or how the heck he did it, but he pile shuffled my deck very carefully every time, and just absolutely mana screwed me every single time. He just absolutely obliterated me in the tournament. So I lost, I forget if it was 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5 games back then, but I lost every single one just horribly. It wasn't even a close match when I played him. But I got to go around telling everybody I beat Sven Gjertsen at arm wrestling. So, and then
you almost made top 8, right? You were close.
Oh yeah, I was. No, I think I finished in 12th place or 19th.
Yeah,
we can Google
top
it.
16. That's really good. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and so I was at a point where if I could win any one of the next 4 or maybe even 5 matches, I could just draw my way into the top 8. And then those last 4, they were all just so close. And then Casey McCarroll, if he's out there, I blocked with my Wrathy Dragon against you. I shouldn't have done that, and I would have won if I hadn't blocked with my Wrathy Dragon. So, but that set off a whole trend in the Magic culture of arm wrestling to see who would go first. And then so at the neutral ground up in Palo Alto, lots of people were arm wrestling, and myself too. And then Conan, right? Conan was a much bigger guy than I was at the point. I feel like I even arm wrestled Conan at one point, and maybe it's been so long I can't remember. But I feel like maybe I even beat Conan in an arm wrestling match with lots of people watching there. Conan might remember, or maybe his brother would. But then, because I went on the internet and I read all about arm wrestling technique. There's actually a lot of technique to arm wrestling. It's one of the examples is you want to keep your arm close to your shoulder. You don't want your arm to be straight. You want it to be close. And you pull towards yourself rather than to the side. And anyhow, I went reading up on this so I could be a better arm wrestler. And I think I used some of the technique to, beat people that were genuinely much bigger or stronger than me. And then though, after this had been going on for a couple of months, some other kid was arm wrestling some other kid for who would go first at Magic up at the neutral ground. And it caused a spiral fracture. It broke the guy's, whatever this bone is from your shoulder to your arm, and it twisted that. And so then they had to ban arm wrestling as a way to determine who would go first at all these Magic tournaments. So there's a little story in my background. I'm responsible for the ban of arm wrestling at Magic the Gathering tournaments for who gets to decide who goes first.
All these legendary stories that would be lost if it weren't for podcasts.
Yeah, I was probably 17 or 18 years old at that point. I don't think I was even 19 yet. So, yeah.
So what is your kind of overall goal for just cryptocurrency, Bitcoin Cash? I know it's debatable who wants, there's definitely politics of who wants which crypto to do better. I did talk about with Brian Mycon, and he said there's a bunch of possible runouts. Maybe one wins, maybe several win, maybe they all lose. So let's get your take on that.
Yeah, I think Brian's right about the maybe they all lose. That seems unlikely, but I don't really care which one wins at the end, as long as the entire world gets permissionless peer-to-peer cash as quickly as possible. And that's why I'm such a big fan of Bitcoin Cash, because I think it's in the pole position and has the best chance at getting there. But if it winds up being something else, that's just fine too. But I want it sooner rather than later, because there's so many benefits that will be brought to the entire world once the entire world has peer-to-peer permissionless electronic cash that anybody in any country can use. I mean, that's fantastic for the whole world. And Bitcoin Cash is ready for that today. These other coins aren't at the moment, or aren't as ready.
So, like we said in this podcast, all you need is that QR code, and then boom, like I tested it, and it definitely works instantaneously.
You know what? If I can do a screen share, we can make it live right here. Should we do that? Does that work for you? And then you don't even have to edit it later.
Okay.
Is that possible? Or
yeah, let me
I can share my disabled screen. You have to turn it on for me, maybe. So
okay, I have it on.
And
so I think
if not, I can just send it to you, and you can edit it in later. But it's so easy to do.
Here, I'll edit it in after. So basically, guys, at the end of this video, so you have to slave through the rest of this video, we're gonna have
at some point before the end of this video, so you have to watch all of it closely and hang on every word.
So with the pandemic going on, how do you think cryptocurrency is affected? Because I know, when the pandemic started, I think Bitcoin was at like 4,000 or something like that, or I don't remember the numbers, but now it's at like
there's been lots of ups and downs over the years. But I saw, at the grocery store near where I'm at, they literally have a sign that says, please, to stop the spread of coronavirus, please use credit cards whenever possible instead of cash. But like, I give the woman my credit card, she touches it, then she gives me a pin to sign the stuff that we're both touching, and then the next customer touches it, and the next customer, and probably 1,000+ people touch the pin every single day, and 1,000+ cards slide through the card register and spread whatever coronavirus is going around, gets spread to every single person that touches the pin and touches the the credit cards and this and that. Bitcoin Cash or any cryptocurrency, you literally scan a QR code with your phone. Nothing touches anything. Like there's no germ that's being spread or contacted, across different devices there. So that seems like a much better way to stop the spread of, germs. But yeah, we just need more people to use it. Check out the Bitcoin Cash register. Actually, if you have a business, Superstars, right, or if you're a Channel Fireball or whatever it's called now, if you want to start accepting, Bitcoin Cash, John, check out the Bitcoin Cash register, and you can set it up to deposit directly to your account at Purse.io. So like people that are watching this that aren't involved in crypto really, Purse.io, you can save 25% off every single purchase from Amazon. Like the shirt I'm wearing, the shorts I'm wearing, the underwear I'm wearing, the sandals I have on, everything I bought on Purse.io, and I saved like 25%. So like a $100 item now costs $75 using Bitcoin Cash, using Purse.io. And there's a link to that website directly from inside the Bitcoin.com wallet. So if you can't remember Purse.io, just grab the Bitcoin.com wallet, and you'll see a link to where you can save 25% off everything on Amazon. Like that's huge, huge savings. That's such a big deal.
I'll definitely send this over to John Sassel. We just don't want people knocking down his door because he's got a a big thing going on. So.
The next time I'm in town, I can't wait to drop by and tell him hello. I haven't seen him for years.
So what else you got going on?
Yeah. So the other hobby, so some of these Bitcoin maximalists that don't like me because I like Bitcoin Cash, it's so funny. I see them calling me like a soy boy and a pansy and things like that online. Like I've been training my Brazilian jiu-jitsu really, really hard for over a decade now. And my Brazilian jiu-jitsu is not too bad either. So that's been really fun for me as well.
I did watch a YouTube video where you were answering a lot of these haters. So you could, tell their narrative and like your defense on it. And at least I could, with whatever I am, I could calibrate people's point of views.
Yeah, I just find it's funny when these guys like accuse me of that sort of thing. Like I know that like I could choke them in a heartbeat with my jiu-jitsu skills. So anyhow, I don't use it for violence or anything like that. It's just been a great hobby for me to get some exercise, and it's a lot more fun than jogging on a treadmill or anything like that. So, but I did especially before Bitcoin, I did quite a few tournaments and competitions, and I like there's somebody put together some meme. What the heck's the kid's name? This kid's going to be probably a superstar in the UFC at some point here. But I fought him in a jiu-jitsu tournament a couple years, maybe 2 years ago, and he beat me fair and square. But this kid is a real badass up and comer, and like they put together some video mocking me because I lost to him. John Paul, his last name's escaping me, but like you can find the video on YouTube. That kid, I think you're going to see him in the UFC here pretty quickly. So I have zero shame in losing to that kid. That kid was a real John Paul Boyante. It's some difficult French last name. So anyhow, that kid, I'm keeping an eye on him. I'm really impressed with him, and I can't wait to see him go far. So he probably doesn't remember me because he beats most people, but you remember the people you lose to a lot more than you remember the people you beat. So he beat me, but I remember him real clearly, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the UFC someday.
So it's funny because you touched up on 2 points. One is people talking trash to the internet. Like we grew up pre-internet. Like internet came out when we were a teenager. We were teenagers, excuse me. So like back then, like there's this natural calibration. Like if I talk trash to you or you talk trash to me in person, there's also that threat you get punched in the face. With these like keyboard warriors, like
on the internet that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no that. And there was some trash talking in Magic, but it was mainly friendly trash talking, not abusive trash talking for the most part.
Yeah, but it's also like just there's a everyone has practice to draw or to figure out where the line is to like because people do go too far and then you communicate it and then most of the time people like okay I got it and they back off a little bit. Whereas the internet is just
and
like,
to be fair, I was one of those teenagers, though. I think I would walk it right up and then sometimes over the line there. But people, that's what kids do. So
yeah, that's what kids do, and then you adapt, and we become adults, and then whatnot. Yeah. And the other thing is like when this happens in sporting events too. Like say basketball, somebody makes a mistake and then the fans are like, boo, you suck, and these guys are like the top 50 people in the world. So
yeah, and either guys drinking beer in the stands and you haven't gotten on the court and they wouldn't stand a chance. Yeah, you see that all the time.
So just like you with the jiu-jitsu thing is like you may have lost to this dude who is just like maybe slated to be in the UFC or at least highly confident in jiu-jitsu, and it's like so
I don't think I'm exaggerating either when I say I think we'll see him in the UFC here within a couple of years. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So we'll see.
Regardless, it's kind of like, okay, so you lost to this guy who's like really good. So
exactly.
You're supposed to be made fun of for that.
Exactly. And it's like I'm not top level jiu-jitsu in the world, but like I'm one step below, and I would get along training just fine with some pretty darn high level guys. And I've trained with plenty of high level guys in the world. So I've trained with European champions and whatnot, and I'm not better than them, but I'm competitive enough to give them a challenge at least. So that's fun, right? That's a good level if I'm there. So
it's more of just like people shaming. It's just like, oh, Michael Jordan dunked on you. Okay, like
Michael Jordan.
Right? Who cares, right? So like you're getting shamed for something when you're at a national level or maybe tier 2 in a national level. It's like, what you're gonna make fun of somebody who's a tier 2 in a national level or something? There's literally like people should be celebrated for hitting tier 2 national level, which is really really hard.
Yeah. So. Yep, and same with poker though. I'm sure you see that the at-home fans saying, "Oh, you idiot! Why didn't you do this?" Whereas they're watching on TV and they can see the cards that everybody had and this and that. Like it's totally different being in there yourself than armchair quarterbacking. So.
I agree, and so yeah, that's why we communicate on Live at the Bike, like the JJ De La Garza, the other commentators about it. Like when you see the whole cards, it's like an armchair quarterback. It's easy, and like that's why I am an advocate of. Just like all the commentators need to play in the show so they know what it's like, because it's real easy to call the shots when the guy facing
the bet, everything.
Yeah, but the guy facing the bet's like the only person with something on the line that can't see his opponent's cards. Yeah, that's real great there.
There's a great quote from somebody in the cryptocurrency world, but about this exact topic. He was complaining to somebody, and he said it's easy for everybody to have 20/20 hindsight.
Yeah,
it's easy for everybody to have 20/20 hindsight. Yeah.
A year.
Actually, he told this guy, he said it's hard to have 20/20 foresight. Yes. But he accused this guy, said, you have cloudy hindsight, which I thought he was complaining to this guy about something that didn't see it. But it's the same thing. Like it's easy to see after the fact, but seeing it in advance is hard, right? Predicting the future is hard. Seeing what happened in the past is much easier.
Yeah, so definitely in the poker world, poker's a little different than other industries because other industries oftentimes have metrics of meritocracy. Like competition is, if it's not 100% fair, it's aimed to be fair. And then same thing with businesses. It's like, yeah, it's like people's starting points aren't necessarily meritocracy. But as you've shown, Brian Micon, a bunch of other people, it's like if you grind at it, you will get results. And you may not beat Microsoft. You may not beat Facebook or Google or something like that, or you may not be Avengers Endgame, but you could get to a really strong level and just be like, hey, look, this is my performance, this is my product. Poker's a little bit different because in cash games, it's restricted to like a single table. Like online, it could be heads up or six max, but it's a cultivated field. Like it's not a meritocracy field. Like the 9 or 6 or heads up people or whoever whatever handed you're playing, it's not like, oh, they earned that seat. They happen to be there. They happen to put money on the
Well, that's probably pretty good for the good poker players, but like yourself, right?
table. Well,
So,
I'm out of the mix when it comes to like hardcore high stakes, and Brian Mycon and I and a lot of people echo the same thing. It's just like it's if you really put a gun to our head to try to cut it, yeah, maybe we could do it again. But there's just better options, and just like one thing about poker is like you're not building anything. So something that like Doug Polk, Ryan Fee, Brian Mycon, or whatever, myself, we're now building products, and poker is just far in the background. Like it's still there, part of our portfolio, but it's hard because we saw the cap, which is once you get too good, nobody plays you. So
that's why
why?
you don't use your last name as your screen name on when you're playing online. So.
I'm pretty sure they don't do it anymore. But poker works different in the opposite of other industries, because other industries, the better you get and the more prominent and the more respected you get, people want to work with you. In poker,
Reverse.
yeah, it's reverse. Like the better you get, nobody wants to play you. So then when you reach that echelon where you start getting blocked from games, you're just like, and then you either
Now what do I do?
Yeah, you keep butting your head, or you keep moving, or you move on. In which I tried to move on purely like many times, but I'm just like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna hybrid it because it's
Is
like
poker still fun for you on a social level? Is it a fun game, or is it just you're kind of tired of it at this point?
it's never really been. I mean, it stopped being fun a long time ago, but at least
Well, how about StarCraft and Warcraft? Were those still fun, or were those
I
also
can't
tired of it?
touch real time games anymore because I'm so much slower and it hurts. And like I had this conversation in the podcast with Chris Brewer and several other people, but just like when you used to be proficient in something and you have to leave it and you physically cannot perform anymore, then it hurts to go back because you just can't do it. So
It's getting old.
I'm gonna have a podcast I just had Brian Weissman on to kind of document what happens to people who compete and then how they move on, because esports is like normal sports and a lot of like everything in general, but especially subject matters where it takes a lot of physical ability. You age out, your career can only be like X years, and then it's time to move on. Like even poker, like it's been said that a lot of the top poker players are 35 or younger because at some point you just get kind of too old, whether it's the variance or keeping up or so on. So this is real life. We're trying to find careers that can ideally
Old
go
people can
until
do.
old people can do, or you could literally do till your dying day, which in the technology industry is one of the first times in human history with the internet. Like you can do that because like you're going to age out of just about everything, and if you have to physically do something.
So one of the hopes and one of the things that I'm doing with some of the money that I managed to earn from the cryptocurrency stuff is I want to invest in medical technologies to help people stay young, hopefully for forever. And so one of them is like a stem cell research facility, and so I want to help with more and more things like that, because getting old sucks, right? I want to have fun and be young for enjoy with my friends and family for forever. And if you get tired of it, you can always commit suicide someday. But I want to have the option of living for forever.
So in CNN, there's a report in UC San Diego is actually made a big step with literally, which is what you're talking about, like the stem cells and eternal youth.
Fantastic. Well, we need that, right? Because getting old kind of sucks.
I'll send you the link, and I'm always good to support my alma mater. But yeah, like just real-time games first. It was time to move on. Poker as a hardcore competitor, it was time to move on. Now I'm doing Live the Bike. I have another announced project, and I have other things going on, and just reconnecting. And I'm glad that we shared time in our youth. So one of the things, like I told Brian Mycon too, is like you don't necessarily know somebody unless you've known them since you were like young.
A
Like
kid.
known like their true integrity in their heart and knowing where they came from. Because like I meet a lot of respectable people now. I work with a lot of respectable people, but shared experiences when you're younger is kind of like you know where their heart is. So if I like actually listen to all this like stuff about you, it's really easy to get lost. Like who's right, who's wrong, what's true, because there is definitely some part of the toxic narrative that is claiming things that aren't true. But as like a third person point of view, they don't know what's true
You
or
don't
not.
know. Who do you believe? Yeah.
Exactly. With the coronavirus, like there's a lot of narrative and I don't know squat or whatever. I don't have an expertise level to determine like respiratory diseases and stuff like that. So I'm kind of lost because this guy's got an MD, this guy's a PhD, you got Fauci, you got well, I'm like, I don't know. And I talk with my network, a bunch of highly intelligent people that are way beyond me in this subject. And even they change their minds throughout time. So I have to constantly, do that. So it was like, at least in your case, I we spent a good couple years and I saw how you work when you were younger. And I'm not vouching, I don't know if you're totally right or totally wrong, but at least my experience with you, I can at least discern what narrative out there is definitely not true. And the stuff that are positives that I don't have a domain of expertise, but you clearly have been researching this for 10 plus years. I can calibrate that narrative more, like where you're coming from. And just like your experiences, Brian Mycon's, the Silk Road guys' experiences of just getting unfairly treated on certain concepts that are like, there's nothing wrong here. So you screwed up a license. Why don't you just pay a penalty for not having a license? Like,
And the
done
company I
deal.
was buying it from had no license. The manufacturer had no license. Even while I was in prison, they were selling the same product with no license. So I think that just shows, all you need to know right there.
Right. So like whatever, at least I can calibrate. I want to, do due diligence. Like I'm not vouching for your future. I'm just saying that some things said about you are definitely off. Some things, twisted. And then this is what you're doing. And this is kind of like what you're trying to do. And at least I know you well enough to separate those quadrants.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for your time and hope to have you back in a, commentary about just anything like crypto and the casino world and stuff like that.
I'd be happy to do that. So like, I'd actually love to get some feedback from some gambling people at some point as to like what they would want to see or find useful in a cryptocurrency, sports betting, or some sort of something or other. And so these crypto nerds will be eager to build things that gambling nerds want to play and use with. So we'd love to discuss that the next time.
So leave that comment below, or you can contact me directly, Wayne@liveatthebike.com, and I will be sure to send it to Roger, and Roger will be keeping track of the comments in this podcast.
Yeah. Maybe a new business will be born out of your comment. So yeah, and share this video with your friends too. They might have good ideas too.
Share it. And even as an educational tool, even if you don't believe in cryptocurrency or whatever, just like listen to this and just keep it in mind for a few years because nobody knows what's going to happen. We couldn't have predicted a lot of the internet winners. I mean, we could some of them, but who ends up working out and who doesn't, who knows? All right.
That's right. Keep an open mind in everything in life.
Peace out, guys.
Hey guys, so if you download the Bitcoin.com app on your phone and you just scan the QR code, there will be 20 of these. There's 10 on the screen right now. Free $5. This is Wayne. I did it myself. Roger sent me $100 and it worked. So just use these codes, and it's a one-time redemption. So after it's redeemed, you cannot get any more, and I'm going to show the next 10. Hey guys, this is page 2, the Bitcoin.com. Free $5. You just screenshot the QR code and then put it into Bitcoin.com and you get the free $5. Once it's redeemed, it cannot be redeemed again, so please only use one, and hopefully you guys get a little bit of cash from watching Live at the Bike. Thanks.